Hello and welcome to my beginner's guide on which camera you should buy when you're just first starting out with photography and you want to buy a DSLR finally. Most people will tell you to buy a Rebel T6i or something along those lines, and I'll tell you why that's wrong and you should buy something better like what I have in my hands here. I have a Canon 7D Mark I, one of their highest end APS-C sensor 1.6 times crop DSLRs. Now for the part of the video where I explain why it's worth it to buy the camera used. I'm looking at the price of a Canon EOS Rebel T6i, just the body here on the cheapest price on B&H Photo and Video is 731 Canadian dollars. For example, I bought my current 7D with a shutter count of 12,000 for only $200 up in Whistler with a CF card and an old lens on it. I'm not saying everyone can get that exact deal, but I'm looking at eBay right now, and there are many Canon EOS 7D Mark Is that are going in between the $400 to $500 range, in excellent condition. Now let's compare the specs of the Canon 7D and the Canon EOS Rebel T6i. So the Canon 7D has 100% viewfinder coverage compared to the 95% of the Canon EOS Rebel T6i. The Canon EOS 7D has 1/8000th max shutter speed versus 1/4000th of the Rebel T6i. The EOS 7D has continuous shooting of 8 frames per second versus 5 frames per second on the Rebel T6i. My Canon 7D has a battery life of 1600 shots versus the 440 shots on the Rebel T6i. The Canon 7D has environmental sealing, and the Canon Rebel T6i does not. The Canon 7D has a 18.54 sensor size, and the EOS Rebel T6i has a 13.84 sensor size. The Canon EOS 7D has a top LCD screen, while the Canon EOS Rebel T6i does not. The Canon 7D has a flash sync port, and the Rebel T6 doesn't. The Canon 7D has AF micro adjustment, fine tuning, like I was mentioning before, and the Rebel T6i does not. The shutter life expectancy is also quite a bit higher than the Rebel T6i. The Canon Rebel T6i does have advantages over the Canon EOS 7D. It has Wi-Fi, an articulating screen, a touchscreen. It has a higher sensor resolution. It has higher max ISO. It has a higher resolution LCD screen by a bit. It is quite a bit lighter. It's either an advantage or a disadvantage depending on what you want. They both have around the same amount of color depth. The T6 has the same dynamic range as well. The Rebel T6 does have a tiny bit better low light nose performance. The Canon Rebel T6i also has NFC, and you can use your smartphone as a remote control for it. It also supports UHS-1 memory cards, while the Canon 7D is just limited to SD cards. Here's a simple version of all that jargon I just spouted. Basically, the T6i gives you Wi-Fi and NFC, being able to transfer photos from your camera to your phone, but the image quality won't be as sort of professional and dynamic sort of looking as something like a 5D Mark II or Mark III or a Canon 7D Mark I. Personally, I would definitely choose the Canon 7D just because of that continuous shooting and autofocus. That's really nice. Just being able to capture whichever frame, you can just hold down the button, it sounds like a machine gun. My final verdict is that if you're just starting out with photography, I would either buy a Canon 7D Mark I used or a Canon 5D Mark II or Mark I used. They both have really good image quality compared to like a T6i. You'll just get the magic that you won't get with that, and you'll have money left over to spend on higher quality lenses. If you don't trust buying used, the T6i is still a great entry camera, but you'll be wanting to upgrade soon enough. And that's where it gets most expensive with photography, when you're just looking for more and you buy everything new on Canon's website. Well, the Canon 7D and 5D will give you professional-like image quality right out of the box. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I guess that's it for my Canon beginners sort of photography guide, or how you can get a semi-budget photography setup if you're just trying to spend maybe around 600 to 800 Canadian dollars. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, like, comment, all that. See you next time.